TV is with Yvonne and Rodney, and they have had a problem with their neighbor for some time. So we're going to hear what they have to say, and before they start, I'm going to say that Dundalk TV has been learning a lot of people have been having a lot of problems with neighbors and also people in the political arena. It's pretty amazing what's going on, and doesn't seem like the good citizens of the community are really getting the support that they need. So please share your story.
Our problem started, our neighbor moved in 2009, and in 2010, he started scrapping, and I'm talking big scrapping with air conditioners, window unit air conditioners. He would break them open to get the little piece of copper inside, but he would let all the freon out into the air. And one day all the oil came over and was all over our deck, and went right away over to talk to the homeowner, his brother, and told him what happened. And he said, "I'm sorry." He said, "We had a problem with this where we used to live. He promised me he wasn't going to do this anymore. He wasn't going to do it here." And so the neighbor on the other side wrote a letter. Long story short, I'm talking 3 grocery carts at a time, bringing vagrants in. It was the rat problem. It was the garbage that he was bringing in and putting it back there.
But he told us that he couldn't do nothing about it, basically. He said, so we told him what we were going to do.
He said, "Do what you got to do," his brother, the homeowner.
And I said, well, we had no choice. We were going to go to code enforcement. He said, well, go ahead. If that'll stop him. So we did. And they did a cease and desist on him. And then, ever since then, it's just been
retaliation.
Yeah.
On and off 8 years.
He's called my work 25 times in 3 days with nothing but lies.
Saying he's stealing from his job and...
Yeah, it's nothing but just pure harassment. He tried to stab me. He would call her the C word every time she was out there.
I couldn't walk out the side of my yard without him.
He would stalk us. He still stalks us now. And he just acted up last night. Mm-hmm. He's got a nice sign out there now that says "Blow me."
Yeah. And and I've been to the police. We have a new captain. Went up there, tried to talk to him.
We had three piece orders.
I had 3-piece orders. Not worth the paper they're written on, because the cops say they got to see it. You're never going to see it unless you stay here. How are they going to see it?
Well, they've had multiple calls. We had conversations last couple of weeks, so they have plenty of documentation.
They've had at least 15 calls in 2 days from him. Mm-hmm.
And this isn't the first police captain you've spoken to either.
This is the second. But nobody seems to want to do nothing. Or they say they can't.
They say they can't.
You can't get the social workers involved or nobody because of the HIPAA laws. But he supposedly he has a mental disability. That's what he claims. Mm-hmm. And he knows what he's doing.
Well, from what you tell me, it kind of sounds like he may, but still.
Oh, he definitely does.
But he's still crafty enough to. To make your life miserable.
Oh, absolutely. Even with the peace order, he knew how to tiptoe. He knew just how far he could do without getting locked up.
Mm-hmm. We sat out last night, just as recent as last night.
Had a little fire going.
We had a little fire, just me and my husband. Didn't even have no music or anything on. He sees that we were out there, and here he comes. He turns his radio on.
Puts it right up
against my fence.
Which wasn't no big deal. I mean,
and blares it.
Whatever.
So.
Yeah, but that's not the way we should be living.
We should have respect. But that's not.
We should have respect for our neighbors.
Right.
I mean, if once a year or maybe twice a year, your neighbor has a little party and they have the music up a little bit, you say, okay, well, they're having fun, as long as it's not 3 o'clock in the morning. But to be blasting it just to annoy somebody is a totally different story.
And leave it on.
Well, yeah, I mean, even when we went to court, when he tried to stab me, and we went to court, I even told him then. I said, look, I don't want to see nobody get locked up. You know what I mean? All I want you to do to him is just tell him to stop.
make him stop, leave us alone.
And he sat right there in that courtroom.
Then we don't exist.
Even the judge said, you know, all you got to do is agree to stop harassing them, stop calling his work, stop doing this. You know, if you do that right now, it's over with. And he said, with all due respect,
No.
no.
Okay.
He don't want to stop.
I know.
He
And,
don't wanna
and that's
stop.
how, and, you know, I don't know. I don't know I want to move. She don't want to move. I mean, unfortunately, I don't think there's a way.
We've been here 25 years. I've raised my kids in this house.
There's only two ways out. You're either moving or, you know the other way. Somebody's going to end up getting hurt.
Yeah, but you've stayed away from that, and I have to say you've had a great deal of patience, probably more than I could have, Rodney. So I commend you on that, and you have both tried to.
Well, it has a lot to do with me being claustrophobic too, so I don't like to sit in a jail cell no more than an hour.
Okay. Well, but still, you have shown the restraint. So
Yeah, I'm probably one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
We'll do
Well,
anything for anybody.
I would agree with that. Agree with that.
But yeah, I just don't understand why nobody can do nothing. Like,
Right.
Why can't they? Just like when we got the peace order, if he does have this mental disability and he's going to a doctor, when that peace order comes across on him, why isn't it a red flag that goes to his doctor and says, hey, wait a second, one of your patients
Right. I mean,
has got a peace order against them. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not trying to knock Dundalk, but Yvonne was talking a little bit about this before I came to do the interview tonight. And I said, there's a lot of people in Dundalk I see walking around that actually need some kind of help, and they should not be out on the street taking care of themselves. They really need some kind of care.
But nobody monitors.
But they're lost souls.
Right.
They're lost souls that are out.
But you want to hear the kicker? He's the problem. He is his brother's caregiver. I don't get that. He spends all his time focused on us.
Well, the other thing that I've gathered from you in past conversations is that it's not only you that have been dealing with this, it's also the other neighbors to some extent. They all know about it. They've all had some kind of issues with him.
Oh, yeah, they've all written letters and...
To try to explain who
And see, the thing is, and the more they don't do nothing to him, the more he gets away with it.
He gloats.
The more power he gets,
right.
the more power.
And just like when we told the cops out here one time, all you gotta do is just tell him, just you can't do this, and he'll stop.
Like we were blocking our driveway with our own vehicle. He called the cops. They came here and knocked on my door at 9:30 at night. Why? Why don't they just tell him it's their car?
Right. They won't. They don't.
Have a nice night.
And they actually.
Why would you even knock on my door? It's my yard, my car.
They come out over one other time for something, and they said, "Well, he just called, and we're just coming over here to appease him."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a real good answer. You're just coming over to my house to appease him.
Appease him. Because you don't know how to handle him.
Right.
You don't want to handle him. So it's easier to deal with us.
Right, because every time he calls the police and they don't do something, whatever he wants them to do,
right.
he complains.
He gets right in his van and rolls up to precinct number 12 and files a complaint against him.
He's filed a complaint on every officer probably has ever been in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Honest to God.
How interesting. So, okay, now have you been to Towson, to the headquarters, to try to speak to someone about the chief?
She's talked to the chief.
I've called the chief's office. They pushed me back to the precinct. The last time I called, he was going to have a McCullough was his name, but I can't remember what his title was. Like sergeant or whatever, but he wasn't a sergeant. He was higher up.
I'm not familiar with
McCullough. That's all I know.
Okay.
So my phone rings and I get a call from the precinct, but it's not that guy who's supposed to be. You got to go through the chain to come in. He told me, and that's who he said. I'm going to send him an email and he's going to contact you. And I never got that. I got a guy from the precinct call me. And he's in outreach or whatever, and that's
they want to keep pushing
problem.
this out, this mediation thing.
They want to make
which
us
fine.
sit down with him.
When this first started 9 years ago, that's what we wanted to do. He didn't want to do it. Now all of a sudden he wants to do it. We're not doing it. He's already pulled a knife on me. Like I mean, it's just like we told the officer. Do you really think that we're going to sit in a room with him and something's going to be solved?
Well, if he's already told the judge, forget it.
Right.
I don't think so.
He doesn't want to change. We can clear. I mean, this is look. He just new signs up every day.
It's been really, like, he left us alone for a year
After
before
the
this
knife
all
incident.
started again. So this has been since June, July, and it's been non-stop.
Right before we
Keeps
went on
along.
vacation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what he does.
So we said we're not wasting our time.
Yeah, he goes on spurts.
We'll talk to an officer separately. You talk to him or whatever,
and then make your decision.
we're not going to get in a room with him. It's not going to happen.
Okay.
I don't want to be in a room with him. I want him to leave me alone, pretend I don't exist. I don't understand.
You want him to stay on his side and be a
I
good
just want
neighbor,
him
and
to-
you're going to
I
stay
don't
on your
even want
side.
to be. I don't even want him to be a good neighbor. He can be a bad neighbor all he wants. Just leave me
Leave
out.
us
Right, right.
alone.
Well, I mean by being a
You know
good
what I mean?
by being a good neighbor, leaving you alone
Right,
is what
exactly.
is what I meant. So now you have also reached out to political figures,
Yes.
Mhm.
and who have you reached out to?
Which Metzger?
You went to Crandall's office and talked to
Todd
Ron,
Crandall.
and Ron tried with
Captain
old-
Lilly at the
yeah.
time, the other captain.
Mm-hmm.
And he said we were recently there again to try
this last time. Yeah.
trying to get help.
And he said he went through all kinds of.
He said
Stuff.
I took so much heat that he said he literally went off on him, and he was not allowed to go to him about this neighbor problem going on here.
Well, that makes absolutely no
And
sense
that
because
makes no
that's
sense.
his job. That's Captain Ollie's job.
Right. And he said, till this day, he said that man will not talk
Still
to
won't
me.
talk to him.
Still won't talk to him.
Well, just recently something happened. One of the people that jumped the guy up on 45th Street was just murdered. So this kid that was 15, they were going to charge with robbery, and they almost killed the man. And Captain Ollie told me it was robbery. I said I asked everybody in the room to stand up who thought it was attempted murder, and 3/4 of the room stood up. The only people didn't were people that were in political office or affiliated with that office or the school where it happened. So it was totally amazing. They were trying to lessen that too. So I was very upset about that. Now, so you've reached out to Todd's office. Now you've been to court as well.
Numerous times.
Numerous times.
Yeah, and
For
that's
breaking the peace order.
And that's the whole thing with the mediation. I'm not wasting no more. I've wasted. I mean, I
We
could
took
probably.
a lot of
I
time
could have
off
probably
work.
took a vacation and went to Hawaii with all the time I wasted. At least a 2-week vacation.
Mhm.
Just going here and going there and this and that, only for them to do nothing.
Oh.
And we did have a nice judge, Terabasi, and this is what I don't get about the law is like crazy. So he's got this peace order against Terabasi, and we go there, he breaks it. He tells him if he ever has to come before him again in court, he's going to, really lay it on him.
He's
So
going to enforce.
he breaks it. We go back. They won't let Terabasi hear
Hear
the
the
case
case. It's prejudice.
because he was the original one that did the peace order. Have you
Prejudice.
ever heard anything like that before?
I don't get it.
Well, there's all kinds of crazy stuff, all kinds of crazy stories. So it doesn't surprise me. Let me put it that way. Now, also, you had reached out to other news organizations as well?
It was Dave Collins from
Dave
WBAL,
Collins, WBAL.
and I gave him a lot of information that was years ago.
Mhm.
And he presented it to his boss, and she said, well, it's not enough to really go with putting it out there. The story.
No one's been bleeding yet, right?
Right,
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
Without
And
saying it, that's what he meant.
Right, and that was before
Without
the
saying
knife incident.
Mm-hmm.
I called Governor Hogan's office in the beginning.
Mhm.
When he got elected, I thought, okay, got new governor, different governor in there. Let's give it a try. And I called there, and the young lady was great. She listened. She heard me out, and it's like nobody knows what to do. It was, I think maybe she might have reached out to the precinct or somebody, and maybe that set maybe rubbed Lily wrong, or he got wind of that. I don't know. I mean, because nobody likes when the chief calls. I know that captains don't like that. They don't, you know,
Tough.
they don't.
Tough.
Higher
But
up
the thing
people,
is,
they
if they
don't.
do their job, you don't have to go to the chief.
But they have, and in this state, and I've lived here all my life, I feel like these politicians have just stopped working for us. They're supposed to be in there to help us.
Well,
we have problems, and you can't go to them.
Here's a good example. You know, the other night about the
understand
fire extinguisher. I mean, the fire hydrant thing. Remember when we went?
Oh
up there?
yes, I do. I do.
So,
remember. Okay, well, explain that for the viewers.
So he had nothing else to do. So yeah,
This is your neighbor. This is
right.
your neighbor.
He
Right.
had nothing else to do to like kind of get us, you know. What he wants is attention. Is, you know, basically, and we just ignore him. So he couldn't. We're not giving it to
We
him.
don't
So
say
what he
nothing
did
to
was
them. We don't interact with him.
he called.
I
police.
can understand why.
He called the police because my truck was parked 13 feet away from the fire hydrant, and which the law states it's got to be 15, which I totally get. Okay, whatever, it's the law. So they came out a couple times. They gave me a warning, told me back it up. I backed it up a foot, which I thought was 15 feet. I'm not going to take a tape measure. I shouldn't have to. So next time the guy comes out, he gives me a ticket. Long story short, we went up and seen the captain that night, and you was in there with me. I told him, I said, well, I'm gonna tell you right now, then nobody's gonna be able to park out there, because the first time somebody parks out there, I'm gonna call you and you're gonna come give them a ticket just like you did me. So we did call the other night.
2 weeks.
Cops come.
2 weeks.
One just rode by, called back again. They came, and we're just trying to prove a point.
Right.
So finally, on the third time, I had to call for a supervisor. So they come down. Well, the one cop gets out and he says, I'm not writing him a ticket. He said, you know, he's 11 feet away. The law's 12. I mean, that don't even make no sense. He's 11 feet away and the law's 12. I said, well, first of all, the law's 15. He said, no, the law's 12. I said, no, it's 15 because I got a ticket for being 13 feet away. So then I asked the supervisor, I said,
And it's not funny. I just have to laugh.
I
no, well, it is because
It is.
Well, it's not.
It
It's not.
is.
No, with
It's
all you've been through,
ridiculous.
it's not funny.
Right.
With all you've been through, and I would be very upset too. The one saying 11, the other one saying 15, and you're
Right.
getting tickets. They're not going to write one. I mean, it's a.
well, if the law's the
It's a-
law, the law's the law.
The verbiage
Well,
used was.
I was. Well, you sit
they're
there and
not
scratch.
blocking it.
You're scratching your head, saying,
Right.
you know, what's what.
The
right.
verbiage used was they're legally parked. They're not blocking
the
it.
fire hydrant. But neither was I. I was 13 feet away.
Mhm.
So anyhow, long story short, I simply asked her, I said, can you
Woman.
verify something for me? I said, because I'd like to know. I said, because some officers come out and they measure from the middle of the fire hydrant and they measure to my bumper. Other ones come out and measure from the end to my tire. I just want to know where you're getting measured. Well, she don't know what to do. So she comes up and she goes, well, it's obvious you've been drinking tonight. Well, what? We're not allowed to drink? You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I mean, you don't have an answer for me, so that's what you say? I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's crazy.
Okay, let's go back to the news. So you did speak to one person. Did you try to reach out to the papers or anyone else?
No, because I'm gonna be honest with you, nobody's gonna do nothing.
I feel like nobody's
It's a
going to do
joke.
nothing.
Nobody's
I
gonna.
don't.
You can't
I
touch
know.
it.
Well, the reason I
You know what I
ask
mean?
is because they don't touch it, and I
Right.
I want you to let the viewers
Well,
know
it's
who you have.
just like the captain said the other night. He's not breaking any law.
Mhm.
So until he breaks a law, there's nothing you can do. Which I get, But I feel if he really does have this mental disability, and he should have to be monitored. See, that's the problem with this state.
Monitored.
You took away all them state hospitals, and you just dumped all these people with these problems out onto society for us to deal with. We're not doctors. I don't know how to handle him. I don't know what he's going to do from one day to the next. One day he's saying hi. One day he's bringing my trash cans up and putting them in my yard. The next day he's throwing them down the street.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very difficult to read.
It's
Except when you're looking out the
It's
window.
Right.
If he's throwing them out, you're saying
Right.
he's on that kind of trip today.
Well, I
if
can
he's bringing them up.
After 9 years, I can usually tell he'll start pacing up and down the street.
Well, here's one thing that really scared me that you talked about, and just you had said that he tried to stab you one time. But you had shared with me probably 2 weeks ago that you're cutting the grass and you have headphones on.
Oh, I have to, yeah.
So to protect your ears, and then he's standing right beside you while you're cutting the
No,
grass.
I actually wear them so I don't have to, because when I'm cutting the grass, he'll come out and he'll just start yelling and screaming. So that's what I'm doing it. But yeah, I don't think he'll ever do anything.
Well, I would be. Well, he's tried to stab you once. You just never know. So
I think he learned his lesson after that one.
Oh, okay,
You thought he did.
He was good for a year.
Okay, that's so he needs a little bit of discipline. Sounds like
That's all. Well, he just needs.
But
people to
I'm not
stop.
saying that what kind of discipline. I'm not the one to make that.
You can go
choice.
straight across the street to my neighbor Tom,
Mhm.
and he sees a lot. He's he sits in that living room in his recliner a lot, and he watches. He knows. He has it. He gets it. He sees that he stalks us. No sooner one of us comes out that door, because he put cameras up over there. We've had cameras, and then he put them up. And no sooner one of us comes out that door, here he is. He's out here, and he just wants to be, seen and heard, and it's constant. It's constant.
Well,
Yeah, he was just yelling at her the other day. Now, see, she won't tell
I
me.
recorded it. He was hollering from his yard. Well, I went out to clean up after my dogs, and he screamed out my name just crazy. He went, Yvonne, real loud, crazy. And I thought, oh, I'm going to go get my phone. God knows, what he's going to say. I mean, I got to get all the proof I can. Everybody says, write down, document, record, whatever.
What is a joke?
And I get nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
What good is it?
I'm telling you, we
I
got
got
a
a
book.
folder.
We got a book in there this thick.
Mm-hmm.
I got transcripts from court.
And all they say is go get another peace order. A peace order is the biggest joke you've ever seen in your life.
It's not worth it.
It's just a waste of time.
Not worth it. I've had 3.
I think that it might work in some instances, but it's not working with everybody.
Right.
Some people will.
Well, I think if you're like, in a relationship or something, it is. But even like the one judge said, with neighbors, it's kind of hard because you can't tell him he can't walk here in front of your house. You know what I mean? When he lives right here. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
I don't know. If you have a peace order, why wouldn't you walk away? Why wouldn't you walk around?
Well, you should have to. And see, and that's what he did tonight when he was going to stab me. I had come out of my van, and he was walking down here. My camera, you can see him. Instead of just stopping or walking across the street, he come by and almost brushed into me. And then some words were spoken by him and then me back. And then we walked out to the van, and you can see him. He swings right at my stomach.
We only got a little bit of it because of the way that his work van is big. So that's why he knows what he's doing. He went into the street and figured the camera wouldn't pick him up. But thank God the one camera did. A small portion,
Yeah, and the neighbors were out
but
too.
enough. And then three witnesses, neighbors across the street were out. He didn't know they were out. And they heard him. He started yelling and running his mouth at my husband. I wasn't out there or anything. I was in here. I didn't know what was going on. And before he even got near him down here. And he just ignored them and, didn't pay him no mind. And like I said, he tried to almost walk into him. You could see that on the video where it was like deliberate. So.
Well, what we'll do is there's a few people who've had some problems. We already documented one, and that was with Todd Crandall's assistant. His neighbor had a problem with Ron Metzger that you were talking about. And there's another group that is having a problem. So we're going to be documenting this and sharing this information online. We'll be getting other people's information. And then we'll just be trying to figure out a plan, which way we can move, where we can take it, and hopefully get some kind of good resolution for people that are dealing with situations like you are. We need some good people to come together and make sure that everybody's life is able to have the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness that we're guaranteed as Americans.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I come home from work and I really, I'll have to cut the grass. I don't even want to go out and do it. You know what I mean? Until I know they leave.
And a lot of the cops that have come here are good. They've been great. we have no
I would
problems.
say 95%
Yeah,
of
we have
them.
no problems with the cops. I feel like they do their job for the most part. They try anyway, and then we get to the court, and that's where it fails. The court system is just a mess, and that's where it's failed every time. We've had people come up to us in the courthouse. We had a bailiff. We had a woman officer that lived in Harford County.
Same problem.
She had the same problem, and it was so bad and tumultuous that she was afraid her husband was going to be locked up. They had to move. She said, I literally had to move. I feel your pain. I had to move from one end of Harford County to the other to keep my husband from getting in trouble. That's why I say he's shown a lot of great restraint. But
eventually,
Yeah, I mean, you might be able to handle it for 3 years.
Well, that's what I mean.
And everybody has a bad day, and you don't want to deal with somebody and they just catch you at the wrong time. Everybody has some real stressors in life, and actually, they don't need somebody. And you shouldn't have to put up with that on a daily basis anyway. That just makes your life so much more difficult.
I can deal with him. If you want to say something smart, once a week, I'll be happy with that.
Well, I did want to ask one more question. So you've been here for quite some time. Sans he's been here for a while. Before the disagreement, I'll call it, about the scrapping, and he was wrong, but I'm just going to call it a disagreement. So did you get along with him at any point in time?
So no, when they moved in, we were nice. I mean, they were new neighbors. We kind of thought, you could kind of tell he was off his rocker. He used to come over. This is when I used to smoke, and he didn't have a fence up out here. His brother put that up to keep him out of the yard. So he used to come over here. He'd root through our mailbox when we weren't home. I used to smoke. I don't smoke in the house, so I used to smoke out on the front porch, and I'd just butt my cigarettes out and leave them out there on the in the ashtray. He used to walk over when we weren't here and pick up the cigarette butts. This is the way he thinks, and this is what he's been doing this past, month? Mm-hmm. So what he does, he thinks everything in this neighborhood belongs to him, almost like he can do whatever he wants.
He can walk on any
He's been walking
yard.
up and down at 3 o'clock in the morning carrying a little red wagon for the past month.
Digging.
And he takes an axe with him, and he's digging up people's grass. Where they don't weed. Mm-hmm. So he don't even ask them, but he cuts it, and then he brings it back over here and tries to plant it like it's side. But that's just to show you, you know what I mean? He told me one day he was going to cut this pine tree down out here.
Yeah, he don't like my pine tree.
But he's done.
And he did try to kill it.
He's put Roundup in it. Yeah.
Well, it does sound like he has some very serious issues, and the problem you have is very serious as well.
He was facing jail time. I couldn't go into court as a witness, but his brother, who was in bed the night he pulled the knife on my husband, that kills me to this day. He gets to be wheeled into the courtroom. He gets in there and he cries. He's his sole caregiver, etc., etc. And next thing you know, the jury, bleeding hearters, whatever you want to call it.
Well, yeah, he said that.
Let him go.
He said, I took a knife out of my
He's never
pocket
had to pay a consequence.
and put it in his
getting
hand.
And as bad as that was, pulling a knife out on my husband, he has yet to pay a consequence for it. What did he do? Let me explain. He goes and he buys a shirt, not guilty, and he's strutting all around out here. So that tells you something's wrong with this guy. It's obvious. So why isn't he monitored? Why?
Well, when you have witnesses that were across the street, it tells me that there's a problem with the justice system. I don't know how that jury came to that conclusion from what you have told me. So just unbelievable. And I've heard this kind of nightmare story. Nightmare stories from other people as well. So sorry for all that you're going through, but thank you for sharing your story.
Thanks,
Scott.
Thanks.